Well, with Christmas approaching, my next guest has launched his annual Twitter campaign offering up suggestions to make it through another spending season with 100 Days, 100 Ways. He is the Executive Director of Consolidated Credit Counseling, Jeffrey Schwartz. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Phoenix. How are you?
Good. I'm wondering why you started this campaign, although I probably pretty much know the answer. But did you have a lot of demand of people saying, Jeffrey, help me out?
Well, the biggest shopping season of the year is the holiday shopping season. And as Canadians, for whatever reason, we leave it to the last minute. And if we don't leave it to the last minute, and potentially we can curb our spending at the very last minute, we're probably going to do better off if we do a little bit of planning.
Well, and spending is, you're absolutely right. The amount of money that we seem to spend over the holidays just jumps enormously. I don't know where people are finding this money.
You know what? In some cases, they don't have the money and they're doing it on credit. And we want to try and find ways where they can do a little bit at a time so that they're not finding themselves deep in debt come January when the statements come in.
You've also noted that we procrastinate to the point that December 23rd is a very significant day, yes?
For whatever reason, we procrastinate so much that it's the biggest shopping day of the year. And that's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, I can only imagine what the inventory is like at these stores at that time. It's probably quite depleted at that point.
I bet. So let's get right to it. I know we can't go through 100 different tips, but at least give us a few that make us feel a little bit like we're in control.
Well, first off, I mean, you can get all these tips by following us on Twitter, and I know you've put that up on the screen, but it's definitely a good idea. But some of the things that we've already talked about are when you're planning for the holidays, consider all expenses, not just the gifts, but decorations, parties, meals, get-togethers. Have a better idea about what you're spending on. The other thing that we suggest is take all the gifts that you have to buy and divide them up over the weeks that you have remaining, and whether that's 2 gifts a week or 1 gift a week, just put yourself at purchasing a certain amount of gifts per week. Now, in preparation for the holidays, it's probably a good idea to cut back a little bit because you're probably going to be enjoying the holiday season when the time comes, so you might want to cut back on dining out, entertainment, that sort of thing, to keep the expenses in line, and potentially you can use that money that you would have spent towards your gifts.
But Jeffrey, we don't want to be misers. But this is the holidays. We want to get out and have some fun. Come on, buddy.
We want to do that, but at the same time, remember what the holidays are all about, Phoenix. It's about showing your appreciation for the ones around you and doing it in a meaningful way. It's not necessarily about all the material things. So it's not necessarily about spending like crazy and this is the time of year. It's
right.
Really about showing appreciation for the ones you love.
And that's where we lose the focus, isn't it, Jeffrey? We want to do all that entertaining. We want to give that special someone something even more special. But you make a great point, though. If we don't start planning now, then come January, we all look at our bank statements, we all look at our Visa statements or our credit card statements and go, what the heck, man?
What have we done? How do we deal with this now? I don't want to be paying for this for years to come.
Another suggestion that you've thrown out there as well, too, if we calculate the number of days that are remaining in before we get to Christmas, you're suggesting, okay, if you budget for, let's say, $2,000 or $1,500, do the math. So if we have 100 days that are remaining, do the math, save $15 a day, correct?
Yeah, and to that point, last year it was expected that Canadians are going to spend about $1,800 over the course of the holidays. And when we started this campaign, it's very simple. 100 days, it's $18 a day that you want to put aside. Right now, we're roughly about 84 days left until Christmas. So you do the math, figure out how much you're going to spend, and divide it by how many days are left.
100 days, 100 ways, hashtag 100 days, 100 ways is where you can find posts. Now, you do this every single day up until Christmas, correct?
On our Twitter account, you're going to see a new tweet every day until Christmas on a different way that either will help you cut back or save, or even some great gift ideas that you can make work for you.
So give us, if there was one last piece of advice that you would give to every Calgarian that's watching right now, what would that one piece of advice for budgeting for the holidays be?
Plan ahead. Put everything down on paper. Understand what you've got to buy and stick to that list so you don't end up in debt come January.
Stick to the plan.
That's right.
And then you get through it okay, and then we won't be talking to you in January saying, oh my gosh, Jeff, I've got all this debt. What do I do? You should have said, you should have been watching Trending on Shaw back in October, pal.
That's right. But we'll come up with some better ways on how to get out of debt in January.
I love it. Thank you very much, kind sir.
You're welcome.
That's Jeffrey Schwartz. He is the Executive Director of Consolidated Credit Counseling. Some great advice that we probably should heed right now. Still to come, hedging your dating risks. What's that all about? This is Trending on Shaw. Here's what's happening in and around our city.